Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge. Let's talk horror. With me today, I have one of the coolest musical prostitutes you will ever meet in your life. He currently is with Mini Meltdowns, drumming for Berwanger and Limbeck. And he's also from the past. He was with Ben Weasel as well as the Benjamins. We have Jonny Phillip. Johnny, how you doing today, man?
Hey, doing awesome. Thanks for having me, Ken. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. This
pleasure.
is one of the episodes we've been planning for a while, and we're finally able to get it going. Johnny, you're moving right now. Things are crazy with COVID. Can you give us any updates on what's going on with your life, man?
Yeah, so I moved out of my old condo that I was in for 3 years. My fiance and I moved into a house in Franklin, Tennessee, so I didn't move out of the city, which was nice and easy. But it just, moving sucks. I always feel as if, like, you know, you go to hell. Like, moving would be what you do in hell for eternity.
Yeah, you're constantly moving Hitler's washer up and down the stairs.
Oh, exactly. But other than that, I am working on writing a Mini Meltdowns full-length record right now. It's going to take me a long time because I write really slow. So it could take me 2 years to write the songs. I'm not really concerned about time. Nobody's really like clamoring to hear the full length. It just, I want to get it right. I want to get the songs in every kind of mood that I'm feeling. But then also Berwanger's writing a new record. So hopefully when we can get into a studio, hopefully maybe like after summer or something, we can get that done. Limbeck is working on writing a new record. And so I don't know when we'll actually record that, maybe next year. That time will tell there, but so I'm working on 3 records, but not like, you know, busy working on 3 records. It's a slow process. Everybody has their own thing going on with COVID. Mm-hmm. But I'm actually going to Wisconsin to go help take care of my mom after a major surgery too in a couple days for a couple weeks.
Oh, well, I did not know that. Mm-hmm. A lot of people that watch know that I lost my mother last year. So my heart out to you, man. I wish her the speediest recovery. I hope that everything goes absolutely fine. This is the scariest time to have an operation, man. So,
you know, thank you. I'm sorry to hear about your mom too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. She was my biggest fan. So, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, more than anything, we talk about horror movies, but there's nothing scarier than anything happening to your parents or your kids. So I wish the best for your mom and the speediest recovery, man.
Thank you. I agree. But it's going to be great. It's going to be great because she's a real tough lady. She's been through many surgeries before. She will be okay. And I get to spend 2 weeks straight with her. That's pretty cool, especially during COVID, because I never thought I would see her until maybe next year. But then the surgery popped up. So we're like, okay, hey, we'll make the best out of it. We'll eat root beer floats every day, watch a lot of movies.
Hey, talk about mini meltdowns, man. This is a mini blessing for you, getting to spend this time with your mom. So that's really cool. One personal story I want to tell real quick to you guys, and people that grew up with me know this. I was a really, really big punk rock, hardcore child. I was about 12 to 14 years old. I went to Hot Topic, which was the in thing back then. And I bought this drive-through record sampler called Welcome to the Family. And on that record was a track by the Benjamins. And that track completely changed the outlook of my musical life. It showed me that you could have a pop style music that still had the energy and the emotion that you need for a punk rock record. And it completely changed because of the Benjamins and Napster. I ended up finding, Saves the Day, the Get Up Kids, the Anniversary, the Juliana Theory, and the Benjamins. I can honestly say without that band, I would probably still have a green mohawk or Liberty Spikes and, maybe absolutely wouldn't be the person I am. So thank you so much for that record. And I ended up buying, that record. And everybody out there, I'm going to put all the information for the Benjamins down here as well as the other bands, so you guys can check this out in the description. You're not going to regret it. The Benjamins, I think, is one of the most underrated bands in the history of music. And Jonny can attest to this as well. When we decided to do this interview, I didn't even realize he was part of the Benjamins.
Yeah, I think I passed you my Wikipedia. I was just like, hey, you can include whatever you want out of here. It's, you know, if something's left out, it won't hurt my feelings. It's all good. And you saw that and you kind of flipped out, which I so appreciate. And let me just say, that brings me so much joy and warmth to my heart, you saying that, because that was a huge part of my life. For about 2 or 3 straight years, I thought about nothing but that band. We were on the road for almost 2 years, on and off, and it changed the course of everything that I did in my entire life. It's very important to me, so I never want to downplay that. And just you saying that makes it all worth it, Ken. Seriously.
Oh, man. It's not lip service. Like I said, and Jonny just told you, when I realized that he was part of the Benjamins, I flipped out. And I all caps texted him some of the lyrics to his song just to show him, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you were in this band. Like, I loved this band. And like I said, I'm going to have some of their information in the description. Please check out some of these bands. This guy is a very hardworking guy. He just told you he's working on 3 records right now during COVID and going to take care of his mother. So make sure you're checking out this work that he's doing. You did say you had a story about the Benjamins that kind of leads us into your first horror movie. Can you share that with me?
Yeah. So it all depends how you want to look at it. I mean, it doesn't lead it into the movie, but so The Lost Boys was the first horror movie I saw, and you know, it's not uber scary. There are some like grotesque moments in the kills, and it's a vampire movie technically and stuff like that. But I remember when I watched it, I wasn't scared like a traditional horror movie. But I didn't even know what horror was at that point or how I was supposed to feel. I just know that I was watching something that my parents probably wouldn't have liked if I watched it if they were watching it with me. But my dad kind of, you know, he sat me in front of the TV and put me in front of MTV. He was just like, I don't care really what you watch as long as it's not like really, really crazy or racy. So I watched it when I was, I believe I was 9 years old. It was right before I moved out of Kenosha and I moved to North Milwaukee at that point. But it hit the theaters when I was 8, so I didn't see it in the theater. But I fell in love with the movie, and also the big thing of why I wanted to see it is because both Corys were in it. And I was a huge License to Drive fan and just everything else that they've been doing at that point. So I needed to see it. And so I always had this admiration for both of them. All their movies were so fun. You know, it's like my childhood.
Yeah.
And when the Benjamins were actually hanging out with Drive Thru Records, this is probably in 2001. It was Corey Feldman's birthday, and Richard and Stephanie were both really good friends with Corey Feldman. They had him in a Midtown video. They were helping him kind of get his music together at that point. I think Richard directed one of his music videos that really didn't come out or anything. It was just, he was trying to kind of get into the music thing. Sure. So they became really good buddies. And it was Corey Feldman's birthday when we were in town. And so we were staying with Richard and Stephanie, and Richard's like, hey, do you guys want to go out to eat tonight with the Coreys? It's Feldman's birthday. And we were like, duh, yeah.
Does a bear shit in the woods?
Exactly. I was just, we were all kind of shitting ourselves. We're just in disbelief. We're like, okay, we're having dinner with the Coreys tonight. And also we're having free dinner because Richard's probably going to buy us dinner because we were on tour. I'm like, could this get any sweeter? And then we found out a couple minutes later that we're also going to be bowling with them afterwards.
Oh, dude, that's so cool.
So we all went out to dinner with them. And I mean, I can get in more depth to that dinner and bowling if you want, but just meeting them and hanging out with them was kind of like, you know, dream come true for me. It was weird.
Right.
Corey Haim didn't talk very much. Corey Feldman was super, super cool and personable. Really nice. I mean, they were both nice. Don't get me wrong.
Sure. And that's one of those things where, like, that's how I feel doing this. You know, like, I get to meet you guys and talk to you guys, and you meet these guys, and it's almost, like you said, surreal. I'm sitting here having a conversation with somebody that didn't leave my CD player in my mom's car for 6 months.
That's so cool, dude.
So I completely understand. And that anxiety almost you have before you meet them, like, God, I hope this person's not a douchebag.
Yeah. We didn't really know what to expect. We're like, I hope they're nice to us. I hope they're not like, what the fuck are you guys doing here for my birthday dinner? So when we actually showed up to the Italian restaurant that we were going to, Richard and Stephanie weren't there yet. So me, Ben, and Dan walk in, and right at the front, you can't smoke in restaurants in California, but they were smoking like right kind of like in the area where you kind of wait for a table. They're smoking right there. Nobody's saying anything to them. And we walk up and we're like, hey, you guys, we're meeting you for dinner tonight. And Corey Feldman just went, hey, are you guys the Benjamins? I'm a really big fan of your music. Richard and Stephanie gave me your CD. I really like it. And I was just like,
yeah,
okay,
dude, holy shit.
Like, okay, Corey Feldman's a fan of, he listened to my CD. That's fucking crazy. I've been watching your movie since I could, walk basically.
Yeah.
And so I was like totally mind blown, and they were super cool. There's karaoke that happened during dinner. Corey Haim like beatboxed for a little bit and then tapped out. Corey Feldman actually sang George Michael's Father Figure.
Oh my gosh.
And killed it. He's been smoking for a really long time, so he has kind of more of a raspy voice now.
Yeah.
So he had like this really like smoky, low drawl. It was just great. And then we went bowling with them. It was just an unbelievable night.
That's awesome, man.
I was thinking about Lost Boys the whole time.
See, it's funny because a lot of people go to Lost Boys. When I think of, because more growing up, I didn't watch a lot of what Feldman did, but Haim, like Lucas, Silver Bullet is one of my favorite Stephen King movies.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah, so it's just crazy. And, Feldman for me, when I think of Feldman, I go right to Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Is that part 6?
I think he's in 4.
Part 5. It's with the early Tommy, right? So I think it's part 5.
Yeah. Maybe it might be part 5. The early Tommy when he ends up shaving his head and like so awesome, man. So, and the fact it's weird, like you said, you see these guys, you're a fan of theirs, then you go out to eat with them, you go bowling with them, and they're just the coolest dudes in the world. I'm so glad you got to have that experience, man.
Thank you. Thanks.
I understand why he was a big fan of the Benjamins as well.
Thanks, dude.
No problem, man. When we are talking about the Lost Boys, what scene do you think in that movie affected you the most, and why?
When we were talking about some of the questions we were going to talk about, I was thinking about it. There's not one singular scene that actually is like, that's my favorite scene. There's like a conglomerate of many scenes. There's that one where Michael starts turning into a vampire, Jason Patrick, and he's like, in the vampire lair, and they pass him Chinese food, and he's like, oh, it's worms. And then he's eating worms in the lo mein. And then he gets rice, and it's like, it's maggots, Michael.
Yeah.
I remember that stuck with me, and it was hard to eat Chinese food for a while.
Oh, absolutely. See, Kiefer Sutherland, I think, is just absolutely phenomenal.
Dude, that was such a star-studded cast in that movie.
Yes. Like, it's funny because when I talk to you guys, I always, before we go into our episode, I always rewatch these movies. And that's something I have written down right here is how many stars are in this movie.
It's really unbelievable. You got Alex Winter, who plays Marco, who from Bill and Ted's
Bill
fame.
and Ted. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal. And it's I personally, and this is something that I catch a lot of shit for, I've never been a huge vampire or werewolf fan. I do like the Lost Boys. I did like the original Fright Night. And I do like An American Werewolf in London. And
you probably liked Monster Squad, I'm guessing.
Not a big fan, man. No, I like Silver Bullet, but there's just so many, it's just, to me, and I think maybe it's because, I can't even put a finger on it, but it's just never really been my thing. My cousin Josh is my best friend. I look up to him. His first horror movie actually was Fright Night, and he's always been a huge vampire guy. So I tried to do it just so I could, be cool for him, but it's just something that I can't get into it. But I do like
I'm
the
the
Lost
same
Boys,
way.
and I think, yeah. I love the cast of the Lost Boys. They did a fantastic job, but it's just vampires aren't for me, man.
When I think about the Lost Boys, though, I don't think vampire movie. I don't know why. It's by all means, it's a vampire movie. But when I think about it, I don't think it is something like this cheesy vampire movie. I don't think that at all.
And I think that's the big thing with this movie is it's not just a vampire movie. There is a lot of story to this movie. There's a lot of character development. You feel for these people. It's not just your vampire almost slasher flick, which is what I think it almost gets put into because there is a lot of death in it. But it's got substance to it.
What I think about the movie is, when Haim and Jason Patrick move with their mother into their grandpa's house. And so anybody that's went through a move to a strange town where you don't know anybody, you can totally latch onto this movie and feel feelings because I've moved a couple times where I didn't know anybody. So I really started having feelings like, oh my God, this is what moving is going to be like. Because I saw that movie and then a year later I moved completely into a different new city.
Yeah. So, and that's one thing I've talked about too. When I watch a movie, I like to put myself in the film. That's one thing that when I'm watching, that's what increases the horror to me. An example, I use Pet Sematary. I rewatched that because that was my wife's first horror movie. We did an episode and, the kid running out to the road, like I couldn't even stomach watching that scene, man, because I got kids and I live on a busy road, but semis go by all the time. So when a movie can do that to you, and like you said, you're moving and a movie makes that big of an impact on you to where you think of a movie when you're about to do a real life thing, that shows that they did a great job. They did their job. That's just like having a song that you sing without even it, you're just walking around singing this song because it's an earwig and it's stuck in your ear. That's the same thing for me with movies. When you have those scenes that affect you, even when you haven't watched a movie in a year, that's when you know they did their job right.
Totally. Let's back it up a little bit. So a couple other scenes that I think about when I think about that movie is I just love that whole sequence when Michael starts figuring out that he's a vampire. When Haim's in the bathtub and Michael tries to like warn him that something weird's going on, and then his dog, the Nook, like attacks him, and then he locks himself in his bedroom, and then Michael's like floating outside the window. That whole sequence was so fucking cool. I thought. And then you have the whole the whole end of the movie, like all those kill scenes, the ending sequence. Yeah. And that's a long sequence. And then you start figuring out that Max, the guy that owns the comic book store or whatever it is, the Max actually is like the head vampire. The head one. Yeah. And then, you get the Frog Brothers who are trying to be vampire killers. And then you have, Star in the movie is really beautiful. I remember when I was young, it's like any movie with the beautiful girl, I was always like, oh my God, this is really good.
Well, the Frog Brothers are my favorite characters in the movie.
Dude, I couldn't agree more with you. So awesome.
They're great. And you're talking about like the floating scene. The practical effects in this movie, they still look good today.
Cool.
That's one thing that I can say. Like, I'm a huge practical effect over CGI guy. And I think that's why I gravitate more towards the movies that we used to watch when we were younger, because the practical effects are so great. And that's the thing about this movie. I can say I love the practical effects in this movie. So I'm glad you chose this movie because it gave me a chance to go back and rewatch it and enjoy it.
Awesome. How about the line "Death by Stereo"?
That's one thing. Who hasn't heard that?
Exactly. You know what's so weird? And I totally, for some reason, my moving into a new house, crazy clusterfuck of a mind. This is pretty wild. So I all of my movie print, like my silkscreen movie print posters, are not hung up yet. But the one that's first in this pile to go up in this room.
Oh, dude, that is fucking awesome.
Really
That's
cool,
a
right?
Great print too. Like the Kiefer Sutherland looks awesome on that print.
It's really neat. I actually got it from Berwanger.
Really?
Yeah.
Great dude, man. If you guys haven't watched his episode, go back and check that out after this one too.
Good dude.
by the grace of God, Berwanger hooked me up with some really cool people. Much thanks to you, brother. And, you know, now I'm doing this with you. So I really appreciate him because he really helped me out to meet some new cool people, man. So thank you for agreeing to do this.
Yeah. Anytime.
How many prints do you have? Roughly.
God. I mean, not a lot. I'd maybe say 15. Mm-hmm. Got Lost Boys, Halloween, The Shining, a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre ones because the original Texas is my very favorite film of all time. Mm-hmm. Probably tied with The Shining lately. Because, you know, if you have a favorite band or a favorite record, sometimes that changes year to year or month. It's just hard. It's hard to pick one favorite and keep it forever. But, you know, since 25 years ago when I saw the OG Texas, it's so fucking good. It's crazy.
I just did an episode that'll be premiering. I'm not going to say who with, but we went over Texas Chainsaw. And one thing that we brought up in that episode is the fact that it's not a gory movie. A lot of that movie is left to your imagination. Mm-hmm. And I absolutely adore that movie. We're talking about our favorite movies. Mine actually is not a horror movie. My all-time favorite movie is Back to the Future. I think that is the perfect movie.
So perfect.
Yeah, I think that.
I love the sequels too.
Yeah, see, it's to me, it's just I still watch that movie probably once a month. Like I go back, I absolutely adore that movie. I love everything about it. It's just that as a genre, horror is something I've always gravitated to more. And now that I'm doing this, you start to learn that people that are into horror movies, it's like a family, man. Like it's so awesome. The amount, I mean, they love horror so much. They have cons, you know, you have horror cons. You don't have rom-com con.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, and you have all these people that are so awesome and you watch them on the screen and they're terrifyingly scary people. Then you meet them in person. They're the nicest, most genuine people. So horror movies to me, yes, they're scary, but there's right now, especially you watch horror movies to get away from how scary real life is.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So,
dude, this 2020 has been terrifying. Or actually, the last 4 years of Trump too. It can't write. You know, and Stephen King said, "I can't write something this scary about Donald Trump in the last 4 years." Very true.
And the even scarier thought to that is there could be a sequel.
I know, dude. That's terrifying.
You know, there's a chance they put out a sequel to this last 4 years. And if there's ever a sequel that doesn't need to be made, this is the one. Let it be an original. Let's forget about it and move on. You know, so it is crazy right now, man, with everything going on, that we still put everything into partisan issues. And it's really sad. Like I said, I love talking horror movies, but what's going on right now in real life is way scarier than anything I've ever seen on a screen. So everybody out there, please stop making this a partisan issue. If you're asked to wear a mask, wear a mask. Listen, I hate to get weird on you, but if there's a dude pissing his pants and I'm standing next to him, the pee doesn't get on me. But
yeah, very true.
Has his pants off and he pisses on me, I get piss on me. If someone has COVID and they have a mask and you have a mask, there's a much greater chance you're not going to get the piss on you. Just wear the mask, please.
Yeah, like, it's a respect thing.
Yes.
Respect, yeah.
Yes. So please, guys, please be safe. Not just for yourselves, for your parents, your grandparents, your children, other people. Think about them for 1 second and their children, their grandchildren, their grandparents, their parents. If you're lucky enough to still have them in your life, you know, think about how you could be affecting all these different people because you can't put a piece of cloth on your face for 20 minutes. Please be safe out there, guys.
Amen,
now that rant's done. Lost Boys, you got to pick one scene, your one favorite scene. What are you picking?
If I'm picking my favorite scene, I'm probably going to have to go with that end sequence because it's so epic with the Frog Brothers preparing for all because you know the vampires are going to come to the house.
Yeah.
So they get all the holy water, they get all the wooden stakes, and it's so epic. The ending is so epic. the perfect tie-in with everything. And then finding out that Max, you know, and then Max is also dating their mom.
Yeah.
It's really cool. A lot of cool reveals there.
I love 80s twists. You know, like, because back then you have, like, you know, Luke, I guess that might be 70s, you know, Luke and Vader, I'm your father. And in this movie, you got that twist. You know, I love 80s twists in movies. They're not so far-fetched that it's out of reach, but you still don't see them coming.
I agree.
So
I've been watching a lot of, because Prime has so much cool shit right now. I've been watching a ton of stuff on Prime, and, you know, most of them are 80s films. Man, It's such an underappreciated genre of movies, everything from the 80s. Because that's, you know, I also started on Shudder, I started watching a lot of the Joe Bob Briggs specials.
Yeah.
Where he goes back, and that dude's like an encyclopedia on everything. And I don't know how he retains all that knowledge, but a lot of the movies he does review are, you know, from the 70s or the 80s, and all those exploitation films, they're just so great.
Yes. While we're talking about Prime and Shudder, I don't remember which one it's on, but there's a movie I just watched recently. I believe it's called Summer of '84. And it's these kids, and they think that their next door neighbor, who is a police officer, is the guy he's a strangler or a killer in their town. If you get a chance to watch that movie, it's got a great cast. It's got so much anxiety, so much buildup, and one of the best endings I've seen in a thriller horror movie in the last 20 years.
I'll watch it this weekend, guaranteed.
Please.
I've been looking for a couple things. I also got tipped off I heard that Palm Beach was really good. I haven't seen it, but probably gonna watch that as well.
Make sure you're checking that out, man. Palm Beach is a good one. Also, I believe it's Summer of '84. I'll text you when we're done just to make sure that I got the right name. But everybody out there, too, if you got Prime or Shudder, watch it. If you don't got Prime or Shudder, what the hell are you doing? Get Prime and Shudder and watch these. There's so many good things. It's so, as a fan of movies in general, Shudder is your horror movie one-stop shop, man. They have so many good things there. And Prime, like you were saying, even from the 80s, they have every genre, every great thing. And I've been so lucky to talk to some of the guys that have put movies out on Prime. Danny Bonin of She Walks the Woods, which is on Prime. And then the whole cast of Fraser Park Recut, which is on Prime. You know, like, they have some great material there on Prime and Shudder. So if you guys don't have them, lock onto that. It's something that you really should. I expect a check from Prime and Shudder now. So I said my part. There's their advertisement.
Quick question. So since you went back and rewatched it, I probably haven't watched The Lost Boys in a couple of years.
Okay.
So after rewatching it, what's your favorite scene?
I think when we were talking about the worms and the maggots, I think that's something that's always stuck with me as well, because as a kid, you see that. And as a kid, when you see stuff like that, it sticks in your imagination. And when you watch that scene now, it's not as crazy as it was when we were young. But I think, for me, I can't speak for you. When I would watch these things when I was young, I would take it into my brain and just morph it into something so much more demented and crazier than it was.
Oh, yeah. Because your imagination is so much more vivid, because you don't know a lot of the world yet.
Right. So you take it and you make it even darker and crazier. So going back and watching it now, it's not as outrageous as I remember it being. But that's the one scene. I'm glad you brought it up. I have that written down here as well. That's one that we were going to talk about. That's one of those scenes that, as a child, I was like, this is the most disgusting thing ever. You know, like, and so that to me was worse than watching someone get bit into the neck. You know, like, oh yeah, you bit that guy, but did you see the worms? They were going to eat those.
Yeah. It's a wild ass scene, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's another thing. I always end these with a skull count. You watched them, you know how that goes. So you said you haven't watched it in a while. So from the best of your recollection, 0 to 5 skulls, what's your rating on The Lost Boys?
I'm going 5. I have to go 5, because when you talk about classic horror films, The Lost Boys have to be in the top 10 or the top 20 to me.
Well, even with that cast, you know, because like you said, this isn't a movie where they're dependent on one person and everybody else riding that person into greatness. Every person in this movie has the ability to carry a movie on their own. and you put all these people together. And that's what makes this more than a vampire movie, more than a slasher film. It's an actual film. And these people make this movie great because you have all these people that can carry a movie on their own working together to carry this movie into just being great.
I agree. And there's also, I don't know if you've ever seen the 80s movie Thrashin' before.
I have not.
One of the vampires plays a small role in the movie Thrashin', which I love so much, maybe as much as Lost Boys.
Thrashin'. I'm going to write that down. Actually, can you text that to me because I can't find my pen right now.
Of course.
But that's another thing, guys. If you're watching these episodes, you love the musicians, you love the actors, producers, writers, check out the movies that we're talking about. They were our first horror movies. Sometimes they're our favorite horror movies because we get that feeling of fear from these movies, and we're always trying to find it again. So make sure you're checking this stuff out.
You know who stars in Thrashin' as like the main star skateboarder is Josh Brolin from the Goonies.
From Goonies.
Yeah.
More recently, I believe, Thanos.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So he's like a skateboarder in the movie.
He's like the main skateboarder in the movie.
That is awesome, man.
Yeah.
I got to watch this movie.
Cool. It's so cool, dude. It's so 80s it hurts, but it's so great. But yeah, I mean, that's amazing that one of the vampires is one of the characters in Thrashin', just cementing how great that the star cast is.
Oh, yeah. And it's one of those movies that I am not opposed to remakes. That's something I've talked about a lot on here. If you want to take something and make it your own, do it. I'll go check it out. If I like it, I do. If I don't, I don't. I've never thought that anything's taken away from an original because they did a remake. I can't stand the Nightmare remake. That doesn't make me love the original any less. Lost Boys is one of the few that I think would be extremely hard to do a remake just because of the star power in the movie. Just like Princess Bride, that the star power in that, Back to the Future. You can't do it because of the star power in the movie. So one of the horror movies I think that you can't do a remake to is The Lost Boys because you have a lot to build up to in that movie and you have a lot to live up to. And to get that many stars to do such a great movie again in a horror setting, especially, good luck.
Yeah, I agree. Has there been a sequel that you like from an original, actually?
Like a sequel or a remake?
Yeah. Or I'm sorry. Yeah. A remake. Sorry. Has there been a remake of something?
Did I like more than the original?
Not more, but you think it was a good remake of the film.
Absolutely. I loved Friday the 13th, 2009, I think it was. I thought that they made Jason an absolute brute in that movie. He was intelligent. He wasn't just a kid that drowned and came back. You know, he was a survivalist almost. Dawn of the Dead from 2004. I think that's one of my favorite remakes of all time.
It is great.
And honestly, even though I may get some shit for this, I absolutely, and I like it more than the original, the newest Child's Play.
Hey, I was going to mention that. Okay. That's cool. That's cool that you said that. Because I've been talking. So, okay, let me back it up a little bit. With Berwanger, we have a group of people that play Friday the 13th on PS4.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we have a group of 6 people that play every week. It's kind of slowed down because there's been some glitches with the servers lately.
Sure.
So we haven't played it as much, but we've been playing it. We talk a lot. I mean, we're on headphones together the whole time. So there is some downtime. So we talk about movies a lot. And a couple of us have seen that remake and enjoyed it pretty thoroughly. I think some of the kill scenes are excellent in it. And the technology with the Chucky doll, really cool.
If you guys get a chance, you go back on the channel here. I did a review of the movie. Now, I do miss the fact of I miss Charles Lee Ray. When I was a kid, me and my brothers and sisters, no shit, we would play hide the soul. You know, my brother would lay down and I'd do the ade, dewey, dem, and my dad used to get pissed because he thought it was witchcraft. But with this movie, man, you got to separate them. You have to separate those things. In this movie, Chucky is not a crazy serial killer that got put into someone's body and needs to get out. He loves Andy. He wants to take care of Andy. He wants to protect Andy. So this
that was a really cool story.
Yes, and so, like you said, the death scenes in this movie, especially that creepy Jack Black janitor dude, a lot of the death scenes in this movie
was killer.
And there's a couple death scenes in this movie where you're like, go Chucky, get him. Fuck that guy. He deserves this. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it took me a while to watch this movie because Child's Play is my second favorite horror franchise of all time. So
wow.
It took me a while to build up to actually watching this movie because I was worried I was going to hate it. Because one of the things that I can admit, I don't like the way that Chucky looks in the movie. And I thought that would be a killer to me. But if they would have made the doll look the exact same and not had Brad Dourif do the voice, what's the point?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I love it. I'm so excited to see if they build something off of it. I would love to see like a Buddy Bear sequel. I think that would be super intense.
Really cool. Yeah, that'd be really cool. What's your favorite horror franchise then if it's number 2?
Scream.
Really?
Wes Craven.
I was expecting.
Yeah, and that a lot of people say that, but I think without Scream, we don't have Scream completely rejuvenated the horror genre. If you look at the movies that came out the year of and the year before Scream and what came out the next 3 years after Scream, it'll blow your mind. Wes Craven brought back the slasher genre. It was intelligent. It was, I hate to say, I'm bringing out my age here, but it's hip. You know, like you got the people in there. You had a group of young kids that were good looking and intelligent. You know,
the plot twist at the end of 1. Dude, that's extremely awesome.
And I love how one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and a lot of people don't even catch this the first time they watch it, but you got Jamie Kennedy sitting on a couch watching Halloween. And he's talking to Jamie Lee Curtis in the movie, and he's saying, Jamie, look behind you, Jamie. The killer's behind you. And the killer is behind him. And just that, to me, was so funny. Like, it's such a little
that was
thing.
A cool part.
Yeah, but he's talking pretty much to himself. Jamie, look behind you. Jamie, the killer's there. And the killer's behind him.
That sequence is really cool because he's also talking about how, like, I think one of the girls always run upstairs and then they start running upstairs.
Yes. Yeah, that movie is very meta. Like, it knows it's a horror movie. It knows about horror movies. It doesn't take itself too seriously, which I think makes it great. Scream 3 left a lot to be desired, but I absolutely loved the newest Scream 4. I thought that they did a great job with it. I'm very excited for Scream 5, which they're writing. And if it wasn't for Seed of Chucky, I think Child's Play would have been my number 1 franchise. But 3 is Saw, 4 is Nightmare, 5 is Friday the 13th. A lot of those the later Friday the 13th and later Nightmares just left so much to be desired that
I'm gonna have to go Friday as my favorite because I mean Halloween is pretty solid, but you get a lot of repetition there. I feel, but the Friday the 13th franchise, I actually like pretty much all of the movies. Not a lot of people agree, but
I like a lot of them, but there's like the one with Roy Burns. I think that one's too comical almost.
Really? You don't like that one?
I don't like that one, man. I don't know what it is, and everybody shits on me for it. I want to like it. It's like Starbucks or the Big Bang Theory, man. I want to like it so bad, but I just can't do it.
There's a very small fan theory about Roy Burns. Do you know about that whole thing?
Mm-mm.
So I believe the Roy Burns thing is part 5. Because that's with Corey Feldman at the beginning, is young Tommy, and he sees Jason. And they actually filmed that at Corey Feldman's, like, his real childhood home, because he was, I think, doing Goonies or something at the time. So they only had like 1 or 2 nights to film that scene. They filmed it at his house. So that's his backyard in the movie. And then awesome. that Tommy I don't think is cool as the other Tommy from part 6. But then, in part 5, they're trying to have Tommy become Jason.
Yeah.
At the end of part 5, it's really confusing. So that part, but part 5 is so good because you have Demon. But okay,
you're talking about the singing scene.
Yeah.
I see. I can't get into it, man. I want to. I want to enjoy it.
So funny.
Me, my favorite Friday film is 3. I love Friday the 13th 3D. I have the one that came with the red and blue 3D glasses.
Part 3 is great.
Oh, I love it, man. The harpoon shot to the eye, like Jason gets the hockey mask. So let me ask you, Friday the 13th, your favorite film franchise. What was your opinion on the remake?
You know, I actually didn't see the remake. That's the only one I haven't seen.
Dude, please watch that movie. I will send it to you if I need to. I own it. I own the director's cut. I will mail it to you so you can watch it. That's how adamant I am that you need to watch this film, man.
In my group, I've seen all, up to part 8, I think it is.
Manhattan?
Yeah, the Manhattan one. So I saw all of those back in the day. And then I recently, since we started playing Friday the 13th a lot over quarantine, and that's what started us playing the video game together is quarantine. We're all just so bored because we can't do much. But I went back and rewatched them all recently, and I actually didn't watch the remake. So I have to do that. I
said, I'll send it to you if I have to, brother. Let me know, because there's the only negative to this movie is a lot of the teenagers in it. You don't give a fuck. You're like, I don't care if you die. You're a worthless piece of shit. But the first act of the movie is my favorite of any Friday the 13th movie. Like, it is that pedal to the floor, all in. It's so much. It's intense. But see, I'm also a person that loves Jason X. Jason X is not a great movie. It's not. I will give you that. But I'm entertained when I watch it.
That's so crazy. We're so opposite of the spectrum because part 5 and 6 are probably my favorite, especially since rewatching. Part 3, though, was right behind those two. Because part 3 is great.
Part 3 is my favorite, but I think the best one is part 4, the final chapter. I think I love Crispin Glover's dance in that movie.
So good. So there's a few singing parts in part 5. You have the the greaser, like outsider looking dudes that are trying to fix the car.
Oh yeah,
that
the guys that are put there just to die.
Yeah. Oh, dude, part 5 is so good, man. It's hilarious.
Man, we're gonna have to have either a Zoom movie night, or I'm gonna have to fly out there, man. We're just gonna have a Friday the 13th fucking marathon all day.
Either or, I'm down.
Cool, man.
Sorry this went so long too. I know your episodes are a little shorter. Sorry it went so long.
No, man, I'm having a great time. So don't go anywhere. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to have some more guests coming up here soon we're really excited about. Check this description for the band information as well as booking information. If you or someone you know wants to come on and talk about your first horror movie, emails down here in the description. Thank you for watching, guys. We'll talk to you here soon.
Bye.